Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Paul James titled Redeye To Dubai. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves the art on the screen here for Redeye To Dubai. This is not the first time I reviewed Paul James music, but it'd be good to hear more. I also want to mention that there are a few other people involved with this project. Apparently we have Christina R on lead female vocals, as well as Red Luna with backing female vocals, Dimitri, the music man, as well as Billy Dewan, producer, backing male vocals, and then finally we have Alison Standley as the vocal teacher. Apparently without this wonderful team, Redeye To Dubai would not exist. These are people that Paul wanted to acknowledge. I think it's fantastic. We've got a team effort here. We're going to listen through this track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's do it. Let's go. Very somber guitar line.
37, tears still fresh on my face. 3 years down the drain, need to find a different place. Got a window seat booked, thought I'd fly this pain alone. Then you stumble down the aisle, made this red I feel like home.
In the morning, but I'm running from the past. She said she found somebody new. I guess nothing's meant to last. Saw you by the window, something in your weary eyes.
Very used to harmonies.
Kinda made me wonder if we're chasing the same sky. On this red
very pleasant cadence and harmony though.
You offered me your shoulder when the turbulence got rough. You shared your coffee and your stories, said you'd had enough of playing it safe with love, of settling for less. In your voice I heard tomorrow, and it's giving me some breath.
You laughed at my bad jokes somewhere over the sea. Your hand found mine when dreaming, said something wild in me. I've been numb for months now, thought I'd lost my way to care, but your eyes hold constellation, pulling me from my despair. On this red eye to Dubai, 2 broken hearts learning how to fly. Somewhere between the tears and the miles, you gave me back my smile. On this red eye to Dubai,
Maybe it's the altitude.
Very build here with the strings.
But I'm feeling something beautiful, something real and true. On this red eye to Dubai, 2 wounded souls who learn how to fly.
Interesting use of double chimes too, as it changes up here.
Between the hurt and the whole, you help me learn to go.
beautiful pensive end to that track. I like a lot of what I've heard here. We're going to talk about it more in the conclusion. And so welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Paul James, titled Redeye To Dubai. In this section I'll be providing an overall song analysis of everything through from vocals to production, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally my thoughts from a general listener's perspective. But first of all, what do I think this track is about? I think this track is about a man and a woman. They're both on a flight. They're heading off, Redeye To Dubai early in the morning. They both got their histories, their difficulties, their trials and tribulations that they're going through, and they find solace in one another, and eventually they realize that they kind of don't want that flight to end. It's a bittersweet feeling. They're having a difficult time sort of going through the conflicts, but they're also thankful that they had each other to kind of console and consolidate things with. And it's just a really kind of interesting, bittersweet, beautiful experience. I feel like it's a story that people will be able to relate to, especially if you've literally had the kind of a situation where you've traveled places. I feel like there'll be an audience for this. I think it's really well captured with the mixture of different female and male vocals throughout this piece. I think it makes sense to have a male and a female vocalist if we're talking about a woman and a guy on a flight kind of having this experience, their perspectives, and it seems very personal to them. It's very believable and authentic. They're very comfortable in their head and chest voice, a little bit of legato, some vibratos occasionally, some really nice articulate vocal harmonies as well there to elevate things further, and generally just very pleasant to listen to. You can feel a sense of mourning or loss at some points there with how sort of vulnerable or sort of tender some parts are, but at other points we belt and we're far more sort of outspoken. There are some interesting sort of vocal overdubs at the end there which really kind of tell a sense of sort of desperation at the situation or not wanting to end. But I think there at the end, that minor leaning there, it just kind of lets you know, hey, we are sad that this has to end, So it's an interesting journey we go through there. I like that we take turns and we don't have like a main vocalist. It really is kind of an egalitarian experience, I suppose. And honestly, the expression's appropriate. We niche really well and harmonize effectively with the surrounding instruments within the arrangement and composition. And we also allow things such as the guitar solo to occur to not overcomplicate the piece and make it just about the story. It's about the atmosphere and environment that precedes it as well as supports it. The track at 4 minutes 34 is outside of the 2 to 4 minute sweet spot there, where if it's less than 2 minutes, then you might be missing some sort of developmental bits that you might need to develop things further. If it's over 4 minutes, you've really got to make sure that you have enough variety within there to adequately hold the listener's attention and keep the track compelling and interesting. You can't just rely on the same sort of tropes. You've got to make it that little bit extra. And so within this piece there, I think we've firmly done that. There's enough compositional diversity structurally, vocally, as well as instrumentally to be able to sort of handle things here. We have a mixture of different verse and chorus parts, instrumental breaks and solo sections, and outro part that is kind of built upon it to kind of finally release at the end. The transitions are seamless for the most part, and effectively we it's a very sort of effective performance across the board. From the moment those kind of wistful guitars come at the start there, they sound very kind of solemn there. It sounds very sleepy as well with the filtering, the effect on it there, kind of like it is early morning. But it's also quite an approachable progression, even with the kind of picking and melody of it. It's not trying to be abrasive or anything like that. It's kind of very kind of like you can tell they're going through stuff without a word needing to be said. And as the lady comes in, or the female vocalist comes in, you've got that kind of reinforcement of that. The vocals give credence, or lend credence to the guitar backing there, and then things are connected. To have the bass come in there, very sort of supportive of those root notes, reinforcing the low end there adequately, and the rides as well as a very gentle introduction to the acoustic kit as well, I think is clever. We're not throwing too much at the listener at once, we're allowing things to build over time. I think the use of an eighth note groove with the hi-hats when they come in for Paul's part is fantastic. It's just nice to have a different cymbal layer, a different groove to the drums, just like to segment within their individual verses there, to add sort of diversity there. Because as we build into that chorus section there, you're just getting more and more and more steadily until it just the stereo field explodes. You've got everyone coming together with those sort of big vocal harmonies there, and there's a nice sort of gentle distinct low with a different chord progression and bass line there, and it sounds like you have the hook line repeated there, and you've got these interesting ambient syncopated parts with the crashes there on the kit to accent certain syllables that are sung by the vocalists, which is kind of neat. And there's just a really kind of pleasant resolution to that chorus there, where it kind of works towards a major chord or an overall kind of harmony there, and they come together and commiseration. It's just really pretty sounding before we go back into the minor orient of the next part. We're very, very comfortable putting that hook line forward. We really want to get it stuck into the listener's head, and I think trading off to the guitar lead at that point there, just as an alt kind of lead element is clever there. It's not super dominant at that point around the 145 mark as opposed to 140 mark as opposed to the dedicated guitar solo section, but that makes complete sense. It can kind of be a little bit of abrupt or jarring if you have a really sweet sounding kind of chorus section, and then midpoint suddenly, because you just don't know how to go up further from that, if that makes sense. Like there's a kind of a overall kind of dynamic crescendo across the board with this one, almost a balladesque kind of format. And there are some really cool call and responses with those backing vocals. Because I think Christina's on main vocals and Red Luna is on backing. I think we've got Billy as well on backing vocals. Like there's a lot of different sort of like takes there and layers there. And I just think we niche ourselves well on the frequency spectrum as well as the stereo field there. But just again, the call and responses are great. And we're not overcomplicating the chorus sections. They still sound catchy, but there's enough texture there to add a sense of sophistication and maturity to it. And I've just realized that we have the 16th note groove with some of these cymbal parts where it just makes it seem a bit more sort of lush sounding because we're filling in that mid-range texture. I think that's a sensible idea. And then having that interlude there to go into that guitar solo is smart there, just because again, if you'd gone into another verse, we've already had those transitions again there. Oh, we're building up tension. Oh, what's happening? There's a release, the guitar comes in. And it's just a really fantastic sort of like proficient guitar solo with a hint of romanticism about it. Like the way that we kind of roll with those diatonics there, in a way that's not sort of shreddy there. We're taking our time, almost treating the guitar like a voice within the mix is really cool. Yeah, we keep a steady pace throughout it rhythmically, which I think is sensible because again, like you could have gotten away with kind of a shreddy kind of finicky solo with a whole lot of range of different rhythms and stuff like that. But again, I think the main focal point of this track is the vocals, you know, and so like to allow the guitar to be more respectful of that is sensible. You know, it's nice. We can play guitar, but we also know how to pocket when required. There's occasional bends and bits of vibrato and stuff like that, and some slides and stuff like that, but we're not over-articulating. I think the increase in intensity of the drums in that late section there is really cool. To have the drums working a mixture of different 8th, 16th, and potentially 30-seconds, doing double time as well, just increasing the face intensity of it, kind of building up to something bigger. Maybe the frustration we feel at the fact that we are having to end things soon, that kind of stress there. And as we say no, and we call out, and there's all these different takes of the vocals across that outro, but you really do get a very strong feeling that they don't want it to end. They're reinforcing that very assertively. And I just think that it's just such a well-proportioned song there. I think this is released on the 14th of February. I mean, this video is going to be released on the 14th of February. So if you're watching this video, the song is going to be out on, I suppose, digital streaming platforms and all that kind of stuff. But considering thematically, like considering lyrically how much of a love song this is, effectively, well, not necessarily like a typical love song, but just like you can tell they have this real sort of like intense connection with one another there. Like I suppose connection, you know, it's just, I think it works well. The use of the minor key signature throughout this piece is sensible because we've got a sadness about having to sort of like lose this opportunity with this person, or having to sort of like give it up, as well as again the difficulties that they're working through on their own sort of. But like there's also some moments where we have some really pretty kind of ninths or major chords there, and the guitar solo isn't super opinionated in terms of what it wants to do with its majors or minors there. It's very sort of like palatable and supportive of the existing ideas. So ultimately this track is trying to show appreciation harmonically, you know, as well as textually, performatively, and sort of vocally for the opportunity I've had to sort of get with this person in the first place. And then the chords tell us that, the major and minor triads, without overcomplication of extendeds and some very sort of like bright extensions like ninths, as I mentioned. But I think the minor leading at the end, that minor resolution was sensible there, as I mentioned. It's just like that, it's over and it's sad, but it's just what it is. I think thematically it works well. Again, we're not trying to be too sort of down in the dumps on the main chord progression and the chorus. We're just trying to keep it measured and sort of keep a strong face, you know. Try not to let the other person know or put our weight on their shoulders, even if that makes sense. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's just great to have different chord progressions, different parts, and sort of distinguish them. The studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering is tight within this one. You can hear all the different vocal takes clearly, as well as the guitars, bass, drums, etc. Very easy to hear things in the stereo field. The music surrounds you in the headphones, especially like the vocal takes, different sides and stuff like that. The guitars have been recorded nicely. The guitar takes are very easy to kind of like hear and sort of feel out there. The drums have a nice punch to them. You can hear the different cymbals, sort of snare and sort of tom elements there really effortlessly. There's no weird resonant frequencies within the frequency spectrum. The bass has a nice tone to it, nice thick and full without being overproduced. There's dynamic range to this. Things aren't the same loudness all the time, although I think it's nicely glued at the same time, and the bus compression limiting is handled. You know, ultimately it's just a fantastic sort of well fleshed out song there that covers the fundamentals. I've got no applicable constructive critique. From a general listener's perspective, I've personally been on flights where you've sort of met someone really cool or really special, and they often happen at the most unexpected moments. And I think songs like this are important because they teach us not to expect things to happen, to try to be able to make the most of the possibilities or opportunities as they arise. You know, us being sort of self-aware and careful to not to presume too much. I just think this is just really interesting subject matter. I wish everyone involved the best of luck in future, as I mentioned in the intro. And thank you for watching my review of this track from an act named Paul James, titled Redeye To Dubai. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show some love via the various social medias. And I'm sure this will be on digital streaming platforms as of the time of the video. And stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need to help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.